see there, this is a gold bar cathode, silver coin anode. In this reaction, it's not plugged in. There we go. Gold bar, standard 10-gram gold bar, standard 1 ounce anode on that reaction. And then to show you what, it's just the positive and negative.
It's about $700 worth of material right there.
It is, right? So it's extremely expensive if you're dealing with the real deal of making the actual monatomic gold. And yeah, see, it's just into a regular USB plug-in that I have it connected to the positive and negative on there. So this is part of the gold white monoatomic that's formed on the top of this gold bar.
Oh my, inflation. It's real. Have you been to the pump lately? Have you been to the grocery store? Well, I mean, I just got a bill for my car insurance to renew. No tickets, no accidents. They raised it over 50%. And they said it's because of expenses of repairs. Really? This is wild. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely want to protect my future and my retirement. I've already called Noble Gold Investments. You should too. 1-877-646-5347. They will help you convert your 401 IRA into precious metals and help you with your future and your retirement. You can even convert into cryptos. It's all about options. I would ask what your options are. And as a gift, they will give you, all qualifying 401 IRAs to convert, a beautiful, this is a 3-ounce American Virtue solid silver coin at no additional cost. Give them a call before they run out and be the change you want to see, everybody. Okay, so for those of you that are just joining us, we have BurnEye, the Alchemist, and next Friday is going to be the pilot edition of Weekend at BurnEye's at the LeakProject website, where we are actually now working on a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week streaming platform with incredible guests, incredible shows. And BurnEye's taken on the primetime slot from 9 a.m. until, 9, 10, 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 hours. He's going to have some amazing guests and information that he's going to bring to the table. And so today we're going to talk about how he's what looks like could actually be monatomic gold. He's doing all sorts of crazy alchemy experiments.
Real monoatomic gold made straight from 24-karat gold bars.
Yeah, I got to hear about this, man. This is wild. And we're also going to talk about the medicine hat geoglyph and some other megaliths and mysteries of the world. But yeah, man, you showed me that. And I was like, wait a second, what? Because I'm so skeptical about this stuff, right? Like we've talked about this before. I've had people send me monatomic gold that, and I tried it a couple of times. I was like, wait a second, man, I don't even think I'm going to take this just because I don't know what it is. People can say anything. Oh, dude, I made monatomic gold. Look at how I did it. But if they didn't do it right, then those heavy metals in your body are going to have, some pretty serious side effects, right?
You can do more harm than good if you taking the wrong amounts. And it's so crucial. And I fully support your intelligence and intuition not to take it, not knowing if it was made properly or what exactly it is. And the key is that monoatomic elements always are this pure white. If it's ever green or blue, red, any other color, it means it's either oxidized or like sulfide, mercuride. It's particulated into single monoatomic pure metal element. And this is from the results of my research and understanding Isaac Newton's alchemy, and where he said that all metal elements can be broken down into their most basic, and he called it mercurial, which I believe is molecular, white powdered state. And my monoatomic gold, I use a 24-karat gold 10-gram anode and a 24-karat gold 10-gram cathode when making this. As well as my monoatomic silver, I use a pure silver maple, like the Canadian 1-ounce coins, just like the American, where it's 99.999% pure silver. I use it as both the anode and cathode as well. And then that's where I get my colloidal silver water from, after I've flushed all of the salt out from the process of making it. And it's through this electrolysis process that I've been able to turn any metal into this pure white monoatomic single atom, which I believe to be the plasma state is the key part of this, is that what the monoatomic metals are when they're in this single atom state is they're actually a fourth dimensional state of matter. So it goes gas, liquid, solid, plasma, and it's that's your ionized gases like the aurora borealis, your neon lights, that's noble gas in its plasma state when it's ionized. So that your actual metals, your solid metals, when they're in this single atom mono state, they that's how they become superconductive. That's where they're getting this over unity from, and is because it would be in a plasma state.
I'm going to stop you right here, and I'm going to have to change over the Wi-Fi because there's been 3 times that your sound has just gone for just a couple of seconds. But I'm going to go ahead. So we're going to disconnect for about 5 seconds, but I'm still here. So stay where you are, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay. At any moment, we should have BurnEye back with us, and we changed the Wi-Fi settings here. So BurnEye, you with us? BurnEye. BurnEye.
Hey,
there he is.
I was just shutting down my other computer to try to get more bandwidth as well.
Well, I think that's on my end because sometimes I'll have a connection that every couple of minutes the sound will go out for a couple of seconds. So I just have to change over the Wi-Fi. But so let's go back to where you're talking about how you're making these, how you're making this monatomic gold. Let's go back to that. And for those that are just joining us, because a lot of people have just joined us on the website, you're making monatomic gold, or what? Maybe it looks like it could be.
What I theorize is monoatomic gold, and it's the fact that I'm turning solid third dimensional metal gold, pure 24-karat gold, off of the anode side of the reaction, which directly, I've got videos of the experiments now of making it where you see it just erode and fall off of the gold anode and then turn into the white powder. And
but what are you using to get it to do that?
Just 5 volts of electricity, a small amount of electricity into salt water, and that's all it takes. And have other friends that I'm working with, for instance, one channel, Esoteric Gold. Michael, he does really good work, and he's managed to make what we also believe to be monoatomic gold out of the old process of the chemical washes over and over and breaking it down, the metal gold into the fine white powder finally after about 6 or 7 chemical reactions and rinses and whatnot. And that old method, which has been recorded by, first brought forward by David Hudson, like in the scientific community, but also is how the ancient alchemists and writings describe it to do it. And he's gotten it through that process, but then you have still these toxic chemicals that you need to rinse out of the gold, as well as the costs of the acids to break it down and all of that. So it's a very inefficient manner of making it, as opposed to my manner where literally it's just salt, water, and I started with using distilled water. Now I use tap water. It's the exact same results on my end, but just from scientific perspective, I started with distilled, and yeah, it turns it into the metals. They literally melt off the anode side into this pure white state. And I've been able to do it with aluminum, copper, iron, bismuth, nickel, silver, gold, and a couple more that I've been able to get directly into the pure white state. And this is the result when it oxidizes this teal blue aspect, and that is diatomic. And anytime the metal elements turn into this blue tealish, this is straight poison. So that's like, this is supposedly like the elixir of life. This is the death of instant heavy metal poisoning. And it's the smallest how do I even describe it? It's crazy. Like, even thoughts, like your intention almost can change the reaction. Literally, I've had it where it'll be making the pure white stuff, and then like just some negative like person came in, and it literally instantly turned all of the white monoatomic in the jar into the blue teal diatomic oxidized, and started only producing the blue off of it from that point forward in that specific time I set it up.
Are you sure it didn't have something to do with the electrical charge or some other outside influence?
Literally, the electrical charge didn't change at all. It was plugged into the exact same 5-volt input, the power supply, the entire time. Like, you are correct, though, that one thing I've noticed is if you cut the anode side, the positive current going in, and only have negative current going into the reaction, it instantly and automatically turns the entire reactions yellow, and what the alchemist called the sulfide, the sulfur state. And they said when it dies, it turns yellow. So people are like, what does that mean? When it's they said it's live, it's red. Well, it's a live current that makes it like that. When it's dead, you're killing half the current, and then literally it changed the reaction where it starts making these yellow diatomic particles instead, and it's dead because you've killed half the current going in, and only negative current going in produces a sulfur reaction off of the electrolysis off the metals. And yeah, the most tiniest disturbance can turn it into this oxidized blue teal diatomic. And consuming or drinking the waters of those di or triatomic particles is where you will instantly start accumulating heavy metal poisoning and literally poison yourself, and can like literally shut down, die, kill your body within like days or weeks. That's the seriousness of a condition.
I did not know that you were just using saltwater jars and then putting metals in these jars and then hooking them up to essentially 5 volts.
Yeah, it can even be done with a 3.5-volt DC battery. I've had the same successes with too.
How do you like make sure you don't get electrocuted?
It's that I'm using such small amounts of current. And another interesting aspect of this electrolysis, cold fusion, cold electricity, and this is tying into a lot of Nikola Tesla's work with electricity, the cold current, the plasma current, and then the cold fusion aspects. It's this inductive endothermic negative electricity, I guess, parameters or conditions that it creates, and that sort of current that seems to not harm the body. Like, I've never been shocked by it, it's never hurt me, and it's that there's very low amperage in this sort of electricity, and it can have, I've only experimented with smaller volts, smaller amounts of electricity going through, but apparently, and like Tesla was doing and using mass amounts of voltage in his reactions, it's that this cold current has a very, very low amount of amperage, and it's that amperage that is what does the harm and the danger and that can kill you.
Okay, but like, how do you set it up to be as safe as possible? Like, could you show us some examples how you would do it, like step by step? Yes. This is so wild, man. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, Bernie's not a professional, and either are you. This is,
Exactly.
but he's a lot closer to a professional than you are.
I've been doing it. So before I show you the demonstration, just a little backstory of I've been doing this experimenting now for about 10 years. Started in my garage. Now I do most of the stuff in my outdoor. Used to be a vending tent. Now I've set it up as a basically makeshift alchemy science lab, but well ventilated, as well as that it's not indoors or around where I'm living or spending the majority of my time, due to the fact that this is actually cold fusion. And I've been corresponding and have set up future discussions with Bob Greenyer coming up. And Bob Greenyer is the head of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project on YouTube. And Martin Fleischmann is one of the two original discoverers of cold fusion back in the 80s or 90s. It was that was supposedly debunked, but Martin Fleischmann died of cancer because he was literally exposed to mass amounts of radiation that he wasn't aware of. So debunk his death due to radiation. Clearly it was real cold fusion going on. And now there's a lot more known about it. And it can be very dangerous if you use these bigger, heavier metals in the reactions, as well as higher amounts of electricity and voltage, and get larger reactions where you start forming the actual blue light plasma within the electrolysis reaction container itself. And that will actually start producing helium and more that I've seen. But it's that even with low voltages and a setup that involves high cavitation, which you're not even putting electricity through, it's just the movement through toroid structures causing the water cavitation, has shown and produces mass amounts of radioactive radiation out of these small water electrolysis setups that some people have sadly paid the price the hard way, and mass detriment to their health, and some of them have died. So that is why I keep a very specific parameter and limitization to the experiments I do myself in my backyard, and why I haven't tested a lot of my grander theses on this cold fusion and transmuting metals and whatnot until I get a safe lab and equipment to do it properly, because there is serious side effects and possible radiation reactions of this and nuclear decay, depending on what you're using and doing.
Yeah, that's smart, man. And I'm glad to hear that you're being real careful with that. But I also appreciate your motivation to find the philosopher's stone, you know, to transform these metals, to get monatomic gold and achieve that, and to make it yourself. I mean, I think that's really cool. I also have wondered, like, so you've shown me all these jars before, right? And I'm like, how does he get it from what it was like before to what it looks like now, what he's shown us? But this is what I was going to bring up also. When you brought up how you would make, there were times that you would have somebody come into the lab that had a negative vibe, and it instantly changed the color of this process. And then you showed me how there was the other one where you did you used science setting where, you know, you could do repeatable results. I'm sure you could with this guy too, have him come in again and again, but you were saying, okay, you got rid of the negative feed and you're just giving it the positive feed and not the negative, or was it vice versa?
Yeah, just the negative current, negative electricity. And this is actually known in science, and how there's a technique of restoring and recharging dead batteries, and it's putting that have sulfurized, whatever the term is, where the sulfur adds on to the metal that is corroding within the battery itself, and that you put a negative charge in, and it instantly does the sulfur reaction into it, or maybe vice versa. You put the positive charge in because it's been negative. I'll have to ask my friend Mike with Faraday Research. He was the one talking to me about that.
The reason I brought that up before you start, I mean, I appreciate that, but the reason I brought that, because you got these long explanations, I needed to add this real quick. So you said that guy came in, it changed the color, then you were able to change the way that so it was only negative coming in, and that changed the color. But then when you do it the right way, then you get this, what could possibly be monatomic gold based upon your theory. And so that person must have had such a powerful influence with their energy, the electrical aura around them, that it was actually affecting that charge. Because you're only, like you said, you're using what, 5 volts?
Yeah, exactly. And so this was one I was doing at my friend's place. It was zinc and copper that I was using. It's the Keshe Cup of Life, for those that know about the Keshe Foundation. And it was only a 3.5 volt battery. It wasn't even, and I had just plugged it in. It was running for about 10 minutes. And then my friend's buddy that was all drunk stumbled in, and literally it went from white, pure white, like settling in the middle as it usually does, and then collecting at the bottom. The middle started turning green, and then all of a sudden, boom, the entire thing went green. And for the next few days that the battery was still charged and running it, because usually the reaction off a DC battery it runs for 3 days, making it completely green, oxidized like this the entire time.
Weird, man. And that just goes to show there's so much power in electricity that,
Sorry, 1 second. You keep talking. I'm just going to grab the demonstration for you here.
Yeah, so he's going to grab a demonstration for us. And for those of you that are watching this live on the website, if you have a question, please feel free to ask in the chat box. Our live shows are always free, unedited, uncensored. And so Bernie and I have done maybe 6 or so interviews, and he does all sorts of really cool experiments. But monatomic gold, like the way that the ancients made it, I would be very interested to know if there's some type of similar process. And if so, how are they getting 5 volts of electricity? Although you can plug a light bulb into a potato and you're going to get enough charge to light the bulb.
Exactly. So, and right here, this one as a demonstration, this is 3 copper solenoids in themselves that I nano-coated. And nano-coating means you're breaking down the outside solid layer of the copper metal or whatever metal it is, all the covalent bonds down to just one covalent bond on the outside. So then it's able to react and interact with the single monoatomic plasma state of those same metals. So in here, this is salt water. This has been sealed for over a year now. I never put any current into it whatsoever. There's a insulated double wire, one at the top of it, one at the bottom of the bottom solenoid, and then it connects to the opposite bottom of the top solenoid that is half in water, half out of it. And then also the second wire connects to the very top of it. And instantly when I sealed this, just salt water and these 2 triple solenoid copper coils, it started producing, you can see the white monoatomic at the bottom, and it was even bubbling hydrogen off of the bottom negative side, the cathode side that it established. And this itself, it creates enough differential that with no electricity input at all, just these copper coils and them connecting to each other within the salt water, started producing the hydrogen, the electrolysis process, and the monoatomic off of copper off of the top anode side. And that's why the top part looks kind of pink and reddish. That's the 7th state of transmutational metals that Isaac Newton talks about, and that I've also been able to reproduce in all of the metals that I've been able to turn into monoatomic. I've also been able to get them into this pink crystalline state, and that's where Isaac Newton states that you're able to, and ancient alchemists state that the metal is alive in this red-pink state, and that's when it's actually able to be transmutated into other physical metal elements. And my thesis is that if you put in the right resonant frequencies on the anode and cathode sides of the metal that you want to transmutate your pink crystalline metal into. So for instance, turning tungsten, which is the closest atomic mass to gold. It's just one or two, a neutron and proton lower than gold is, right? Tungsten, the weight. So that if you're putting in the resonant frequency of gold into this reaction, into the tungsten, once it's in this pink crystal state, my thesis is that the atomic hydrogen that is being produced off the cathode side reaction of the electrolysis then fuses and bonds with the pink crystalline state metal on the anode side, and then will solidify into the new metal, adding the atomic mass of that hydrogen into the metal atomic mass of the tungsten, and thus equaling the atomic mass of gold and having the full transmutational reaction. But I need variacs as well as signal generators and a proper lab to be able to start doing these experiments, because it will risk higher radiation and whatnot. And that's why I have yet to test these theses. But one time before in our streams, I told you I had temporarily or turned a little bit of either copper or tungsten into gold as well as silver in one of the reactions, and that it was in this pink state that it did that. And it stayed for about a year that it looked like it resembled that I had that full transmutation before it eventually started turning back to the original metal. And that's what gave me the idea that this would be a successful process or means to do it.
So how much does it cost to put something like that together?
This was literally leftover scrap wire from, like, if you have an electrician friend, or it's about $10, $15 worth of metals, not even, maybe, I guess it's decent size wrap, but, and inflation. So yeah, about $10, $20 worth of hardwood supplies, essentially. And for making the monoatomics, just the price, salt, water, your battery, or I use a cell phone charger to get the standard 5 volts in, and then the price of the actual metal. So that's the main thing. If somebody's offering you what they're calling monoatomic gold and it's cheap and not overpriced or extremely expensive like the price of gold, chances are it's not actual monoatomic gold, because it wasn't made from gold. It's probably another or a mixture of other monoatomic metal elements. And people, ORMUS is the same thing. So the acronym ORMUS is orbitally rearranged electron molecule, or something along those lines, but it's a single atom. And that term came from David Hudson to describe his monoatomic state metals. So people will say their ORMUS that they make out of seawater or whatnot is monoatomic gold, when in fact it's monoatomic, all of the elements that were in that seawater, and like probably 0.001% actual gold within that mixture. Where my process, I'm using 100% pure gold into what I'm claiming to be monoatomic gold, using pure silver into what I claim to be pure monoatomic silver. Same with copper, zinc, etc.
Now that's cool. You're putting your money where your mouth is. Wait, that sounds like a strip club, doesn't it? Come here, ladies. I'm gonna have to edit that part out. Damn it!
I have a joke that a real alchemist is not going to be producing gold, but literally melting gold away. I'm one of only a few people in the world that is idiotic enough, or hopefully genius enough, to take physical gold and turn it into nothing. I'm melting gold and silver into powder that could blow away, or that just literally evaporates into the water, into this pure fine powder.
How much gold did you put in that thing?
This was about 5 grams worth of gold. It was about a half a 10-gram bar of pure gold that eroded and melted into this much right here.
Okay. So you're talking if for 5 grams of gold, that is $336 on the market right now. 5 grams of 0.9999% pure gold. You should go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Actually, oh, perfect segue. Noble Gold Investments. They're awesome. I actually bought a lot of silver through Noble Gold Investments, and I converted my IRA through Noble Gold Investments. You should too. You'll get a free silver coin if you do. It's an American Virtue coin, 3 ounce. Brilliant.
Turn that silver into monoatomic silver, which is almost as good as the gold. And I've only started drinking the colloidal silver gold. I also use a little bit of zinc and copper as well in the mixture of water. So I started drinking the colloidal waters of zinc, copper, silver about 7 years ago and have been doing that straight up to this time. Some people say I look pretty young for my age. I'm 36, don't have any gray hairs yet. You know, I've been pretty healthy ever since. And I definitely haven't died or suffered heavy metal poisoning. And then over the past few weeks now, I've started to finally, I'm confident enough that I've started consuming small amounts of a mixture of both monoatomic gold and silver together. This is probably a half or maybe a 0.2 of a gram's worth mixed in with water. And I personally believe the Philosopher's Stone is monoatomic gold and silver combined. And I get this from the interpretation of the Alchemist drawings and paintings that are claimed. They say it's the Philosopher's Stone, and they'll have 2 snakes going up, and there'll be a sun and a moon, one on each head of the snake. So I see the 2 snakes as your anode and cathode current going into the salt. The sun is gold, as they have always represented, and silver being the moon, as they've always represented. Thus, one aspect being silver, the other being gold, going into this monoatomic reaction that they've labeled the Philosopher's Stone.
What do you notice when you take it?
Yeah, the first time I took this, it completely crashed my immune system. I came down with strep throat and was like sick for over a week before I got antibiotics and then healed and whatnot. And then I was very skeptical about it. And I was talking to a couple other scientists, researchers after an APEC about a month ago when I first started, and they're like, oh no, like if anything, that means you need more because it's like just crashed your system, it's flushing you out, it's what is the word, goodness, cleansing, like it's cleansing you sort of thing, taking it out. And he's like, were you exposed to aluminum sort of thing lately? And it was like literally the day before I had been making monoatomic aluminum next to me. And I was like, wow, like, how did you list that off? Maybe you do know what you're talking about. So I continued taking a little bit. About once a week now, I consume about this much. And I've noticed I'm extremely energized afterwards. Like, don't do it before you want to sleep because you will literally be up all night. It's like a couple shots of espresso and just being as refreshed and as awake as I've ever felt, really. And just a demonstration, this I've rinsed the salt out about 5 times on this. Usually I do 9 before I start drinking it, so it's going to be a little bit salty. Thus, I'm going to chase it with a little iced tea, but just a demonstration that I am consuming small amounts. So you can see the top of the water line. Focus.
Yeah.
Focus. Okay, so top of the water line, and then down the entire way is the monoatomics itself.
Shooting monatomic gold with Pepsi. Come on, man.
Right? Like, did I just amplify those negative carcinogens? Hopefully not. So give me one more moment and I will quickly show a demonstration of rinsing this, as well as bring the setup of how I actually make the monatomic gold silver.
Okay. And disclaimer, folks, do not try this at home.
Exactly, because it is so easy to not know what you're doing. There's also like a whitey beigey part that I suspect is a calcified version, and the alchemists do talk about a calcide component, and that will also give you heavy metal poisoning. Anything that is not monoatomic but di or triatomic instantly starts accumulating as a toxic heavy metal within your body.
Real quick, somebody in the chat asked if you think the pyramids were a charging station or batteries or maybe smelter.
100%. The places of worship were most likely workshops. I believe like the pyramids, as well as most of the cathedrals and most of these sacred sites, were actual workshops. And there's, I can't remember the name or the exact references, but I've seen some Russian scientists as well as other Eastern Europeans that were producing some sort of, I believe it was maybe ozone, but it was these mono or triatomic white fluff powder on top of and underneath, or like in the center of these metal pyramids that they had made, as well as spark gaps. Anything that has that plasma arc in it produces ozone, which is triatomic oxygen, which I was thinking on last night is interesting, as it's an aspect of the electrolysis as well, and just how this whole cold fusion works. And basically any so Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, Bob Greenyer is literally the leading academic professor source on cold fusion, what he calls EVOs, exotic vacuum objects, and is like a accredited professor of like several decades over in the UK and whatnot. And been talking with Bob a lot. And his most recent research has been coming out on both toroids, classified toroidal shapes, so like your solenoid chargers, generators, and whatnot, as well as ball lightning, he's saying, is the key to cold fusion and transmutations. But what ball lightning essentially is plasma state, that blue, any fire, any flame, any arc of electricity, that is plasma, that is ionized gas, ionized elements in their plasma state. And it's that anything in a plasma state is able to do this cold fusion reaction. So even if it's a hot flame in the yellow-red infrared spectrum of light, heat, energy, electrical energy, the hot side of it, that's still like considered cold fusion because it's a medium. It's not hundreds of thousands, millions of degrees of pressure and heat that's needed. It's only like 100 degrees or up to like 1,000, right? So that's still kind of considered cold fusion. And then the cold fusion that I'm doing in electrolysis is literally at 10 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius, and like room temperature, basically cold fusion. And that will be your blue, your purple, your ultraviolet spectrum, the cold electricity, the cold light energy, the cold electricity, cold plasma side of it. And that's a whole nother discussion we'll have in another talk on cold electricity versus hot electricity, how our entire grid is set on this hot infrared wasteful heat electrical energy, opposed to the blue UV ultraviolet cold non-resistant small wave, small energy electrical grid electricity. And that was a huge part of Nikola Tesla's original work and research as well.
Like the mindset of BurnEye, the crazy alchemist with not so crazy ideas. I just use that term crazy because it sounds cool. You know what I mean? I'm the crazy guy in the garage. So
I don't mind. I often refer to myself as like the mad scientist because they are these like crazy ideas, but and like when I first like come up with it or read them, saw them, I'm like, no way, like this is ridiculous. So like I still like am in disbelief, like, hey, I'm consuming monoatomic gold. Like I'm not like thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be a demigod, you know, like that. That's not the thoughts. Those aren't the goals that I'm going with, like while guinea pigging on myself. Like, but it's
Well, what do
really
you want?
rational.
Like, what is your goal with the monatomic gold and these elements and these experiments you're doing? Like, what is your ultimate goal?
Extending life, health, if the ancient rumors are true, as well as more and more research online, and people are doing themselves with whether they call it Ormus, whether they call it GANs under the Keshe Foundation. These groups, there's lots of good resources on like Facebook as well as YouTube under both Ormus and under GANs or the Keshe Foundation, where people have been documenting using and trying these different plasma state or monoatomic state elements in treating different ailments, in just using the water, consuming the water for health. What originally got me trying it and getting over the skepticism of it, when I first saw some of the Keshe people doing it, was this random guy down in the States that started doing these experiments with the GANs and drinking the water and whatnot. And he was in a wheelchair, he was bald, he was like in really rough shape in his 60s. And then it was like within 2 years, this guy had a full set of hair, was standing around, walking, had like put on healthy weight and all sorts of stuff. And it was like, like this guy wasn't getting paid for anything. They weren't asking for money. Like it was just the effects of, and he was documenting it all, showing it as he was doing it, sort of thing. And also they do a huge segment using the water for agriculture, and that it's, from what I've seen, it gives 2 to 3 times the crop yields. It also extends the longevity, like once you've harvested like vegetables in your fridge. I've even noticed just keeping a jar of the monoatomic water in my fridge, my vegetables last 2 to 3 times as long before going moldy. It seems to work, right? So I do have a grandfathered medical marijuana license to grow some plants. I'm working on finding the location to finally set up again, at which point I'm going to start experimenting with using this monoatomic water for growing and yield with that as well. And to answer conclusion, final goal, to get up into space and to live a very long time and have all of us achieving that. And one thing, the Keshe Foundation, specifically, it's called the KFSSI, Keshe Spaceship, or Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And they claim that it's this plasma energy by rotating at high RPMs. Once you start rotating at 3,000 to 5,000 rotations per minute and higher, and I've seen videos which from some of the research groups which looked legit, where there's a visible blue, purple, actual plasma cloud field that comes out of the coil device when you have the coil and then you're spinning at a high RPM, the combination of, I think it was gold, bismuth, and titanium together, that it was producing these huge fields, as well as there's massive rumors and claims that it gives anti-gravitic and weight loss, mass loss effects. And you have to be a signed full-on member and sign their contracts and NDAs to get into it. I believe it's still free though, for the Keshe Foundation to be able to start making your own anti-gravitic spaceship craft that supposedly they claim they have. I've seen videos that it looks like they do have. I'm still a little bit skeptical myself, but and I haven't signed in and became an official member with them, because then all of my own research automatically goes under their umbrella, even though they are, and I do support their motto is free energy for peace, and space travel for peace is their goal. But at the same time, I don't want any sort of restrictions that could possibly be on my own discoveries and research. But more and more is coming out all the time. And what's been fascinating for me is that although I've actually re-engaged the Keshe Foundation, Mr. Fix-It Rick, he's like second basically in command with them. He's in BC, Canada, but he runs their live streams. I'm going to do a project with him over the next couple of months of actually making their full Magravs generator, which is one of these, they're the 6 coils that have 3 solenoids within each of the coils, and they're nano coated, and then you hook it up to capacitors, as well as have the monoatomics, 3 different types, one within each of the 3 different coil sets, and then hook it up to a joule thief circuit, and supposedly it gives you free electricity. So I'm going to make one in partnership with them to their spec and do real tests, scientific tests on it, and see how much if any, and I believe it will produce some over unity extra free energy out of it. But that's one of the projects I'll be doing. And if that is successful, then I will engage more into their anti-gravitic side of research and builds. And from that, now, and then being a full part of the APEC every second Saturday, APEC being American Anti-Gravity Engineering Propulsion Conference. It's run by Tim Ventura and co-hosted by Falcon Space Labs, as well as the AlienScientist channel on YouTube as well. Jeremy Rice, a very good friend of mine, who I also do weekly appearances on his channel with. But they have just if you haven't seen APEC yet, I also stream it to my channel. I'm now one of the co-hosts of it. But literally every second Saturday, it's 4 to 5 different world-class presenters of different higher dimensional physics and anti-gravity technology coming together, making it open source.
Hey, look, it's Ernie.
Right? Oh, it's Bert and Ernie, brother. Bert and Ernie equals Bernie. That's my second camera.
That's cool, man.
Okay. Not sure. So if you can see there, this is a gold bar cathode, silver coin anode. In this reaction, it's not plugged in. So this is part of the gold white monoatomic that's formed on the top of this gold bar. Just to show you, it is actually a gold bar, if you can see the real gold still. Are you able to see that it's gold and silver?
Kind of.
Kind of. Here, I'll see if I can rip the tape off, actually. There we go. Oops. Camera. There we go. Gold bar.
Yeah, man.
Standard 10-gram gold bar, standard 1 ounce silver cathode or anode on that reaction. And then to show you what, it's just the positive and negative.
It's about $700 worth of material right there.
It is, right? So it's extremely expensive if you're dealing with the real deal of making the actual monatomic gold. And yeah, see, it's just into a regular USB plug-in that I have it connected to the positive and negative on there.
And then you plug it into the wall?
Yeah, oh, just into your standard USB block. Yeah, and then, yeah, into the wall, exactly. I originally was using the DC 3.5 volt batteries for the most part, but then it got expensive on the cost of them. And I found the AC in the small voltage amount is sufficient and good with it. Not sure if you can see in this demo right here, the red crystalline formations on here. If it is, it's like these little bulbs of red. And this, I believe, is actually mercury and a transmutation happening. This is a piece of zinc that it's forming off of, but the red bulbs, the ancient alchemists call it mercury. Mercury oxide or mercury particles are red in color naturally. So the next step is just to get it tested and prove that it is mercury that's forming, and then that would be a definitive hard proof of real transmutation of elements happening, because how is that mercury forming when it was only zinc, copper, salt, and water that are in that reaction? As well as I need to get the yellows tested to see if that's sulfur, because that would also be a hard proof of real cold fusion transmutation, because where did the sulfur come from when it was only copper and copper into that salt water that I was using?
Will the gold bar ever disappear, or will it just be the outside of it?
Yeah, no, that's the key part, is that it's on the anode side. It directly erodes into the white and sometimes blue green, the oxidized particles, as well as the pure monoatomic particles. It is a direct loss of mass turning into the white condensated material below that I collect that claim to be these metal monoatomic particles. Like here, I'll quickly, before you go, I'll show an example of the pure gold that's eroded. Do you have 5 or 10 minutes to do a Brucey bonus and show the petroglyphs, or no?
Not today.
Not today. Fair enough. We'll do it
but
on the next one.
We could do, like, if you want to do the Friday, you said you're going to start next Friday with your show, but if you want to start this Friday, we could do this Friday, man. 9 o'clock, weekend at BurnEye's. Be a great way to
actually.
You know, people can do call-ins too. Did you know that?
Can we do 8 p.m. on Saturday, this Saturday? Because I have scheduled and booked the Science of Sound, my episode 4 of the Science of Sound series, happening 8 p.m. our time this Saturday. I'll have Ominous on, my beatboxer brother. He's the co-host, as well as Mike from Faraday Research. Campbell, Autodidactic, supposed to be joining us, as well as Jeremy, AlienScientist, should be joining us as well.
Okay, this Saturday, you got it. I'll promote it. 8 p.m. Now, is that 8 p.m. Mountain Time or what?
Yes, sir. Exact same time as
All right.
as you, I am. Oh, come on, zoom in.
Come on, man.
Hold on, I'll get a book for the back. So if you can see the gold, and that this was a 10, oh no, this was a 10 gram gold bar piece, and then off the anode side, it directly corrodes into that pure white monoatomic powder flake. And then here are, so these 3 pieces are all that remain from what was a full 10 gram bar. And this is probably maybe 2.5 grams left of it off that anode side that I showed. And just before we go, we'll spin up the monoatomic so people can see how it turns into the white fluffy. It literally looks like snowflakes. And are you able to see, is it starting to do on, can you see the camera side on your end, where is it going all wavy in front of the jar a little bit, like a little distorted on the screen? Or is that just showing on my end?
I mean, I can see it. Looks like it's rotating like this, like kind of dusty.
Yeah, this stuff rotating, but the screen quality, I'm talking about the actual video quality itself.
It's okay.
The light, but does it do a little wavy on it or no? Like going like sort of thing right in front of it?
I mean, it's picking up some light from the background, but it's okay. I mean, if you had, you got to have a high definition camera,
it's
the right lighting to show that.
doing it. Sorry, I'm asking for a different reason. It's that it was showing it for a little bit on my screen, but it stopped now. I found that these monoatomic or this plasma state matter, anytime I put these particles in front of a camera or video camera and put light on it, the light actually, there's real distortion with it, and you'll see the waves of it and like an actual plasma field interaction with the light and the waves in the recording. Next time we do the video, I'll have pictures to show you exactly what I'm talking about, but it's basically a extra little proof to show that it's plasma state or a field force interaction of it.
Whoa, man. Far out. That's far out. Definitely. It's almost like it's got its own consciousness and we're affecting what it's thinking and feeling inside of its shell.
You are so bang on. You need to book Dan Winters again and let me write some questions for you for him, because he goes deep into and his beliefs and philosophy and research is actually showing these plasma state orbs like the ball lightning and other plasma state matter is conscious and consciousness. And like, for instance, the Samoan or Native Hawaiians, they believe like ball lightning in those orbs, as well as you see those orbs sometimes around the ley lines or around the crop circles, that those orbs themselves are spirits or entities or transdimensional beings or consciousness themselves. But yeah, that's the huge part of Dan Winters' work, is navigating the conscious plasma.
Right on. That sounds like a concert. Ladies and gentlemen.
Keep calm, burn cron.
Yeah. Hey, where do you get your gear? If they want to get like your t-shirts and stuff like that, where can they find that?
You're going to have to email me directly. Sadly, I'm getting my website rebuilt, and then I have to figure out how I connect it into the Facebook, the Instagram, and all of that for the online sales. I'm working it out. I should have it hooked up by about midsummer, but in the meantime, I have all the inventory myself. It is limited inventory, but I have like hundreds of designs of different leftover inventories I have to go through and catalog put up. And then hopefully should be by this fall that I'll have my silk screening machines set up again in a actual shop to be able to produce to order, at which point I will launch everything live online. And in the next one, I guess, why we need 4 hours is 1 hour to just do business privately ahead of time, so I can get you a nice big package of clothing and send it to you, because there are some gems like the Weed of Light. So there's this is the Seed of Life sacred geometric design, so I call it the Weed of Life design. And then of course there is this girl, she's pretty cool, the lily pad girl. And then the main burn cron bear. I figured you'd love that one. And you definitely need one, right? So this is girls, so you know that this could be for Kristen, as well as I'll send you a man's one. And then we go into my deep original roots. I've got all sorts of wild style graffiti designs, like that actually says burn cron in it, believe it or not. And then of course there's this classic oink, where does it show? There's the Tim Snorton's coffee mug. Tim Snorton's coffee for the oink.
That's boss, man. Those are all great. Yeah, you're super talented. I want one of all of those shirts.
Right. So, okay, you fit large?
Medium or large. Yeah. Actually, yeah, send me a large. That'll be fine.
Would you fit medium? I'll do a combination of mediums and larges if you do fit some mediums, because I do think I have more mediums than larges, but it would be like a large medium.
Perfect.
Essentially.
Perfect.
And what size would Kristen be?
Send her medium.
Medium. Okay.
And then
would she wear something like this or just the bare one?
Yeah, she'd wear that.
Yeah, because you got the nice tank top.
Well, yeah, she loves tank tops. We're in Pagosa Springs, man. She totally did that.
You know, the V-neck.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, dude. So awesome. Dig it, man. I appreciate it. Much appreciated. I'll wear it and show it off, and I'm gonna get boogieing right now, brother. So, what's your email?
Love.
Yeah.
Sorry,
how do people get a hold of you?
My channel, Crypto Alchemist on YouTube. My email is posted in the descriptions of my YouTube channel. Facebook, BurnEye AV Konkin. Twitter, I am at BurnEye Minds, and then they did 3R1. The freaking cut me off. Supposed to be third eye, but whatever. Yeah. So mainly YouTube, Crypto Alchemist. All my links are on from there. Website, www.berncron.com. So burncron.com. The online store, it's being built, so like you can go through and look at it. You just can't order through it yet.
Awesome, man. Well, that will work. And BurnCron.
Because I am Bernie and I burn chronic.
Hello, ladies
and
gentlemen. Be the change you want to see, everybody. And
Rex, I will email you then for tomorrow and get all the details together for Saturday then at 8 p.m. on your website. And we should, I'll figure it out. I should be able on, oh yeah, I got my website up. Very nice. Right, I got some of the powers in the people designs and all. For the science of sound though, and I should be able to run it to your LeakProject.com website through my StreamYard simultaneously. And that's another reason I need to schedule you for a little bit before we go live, so that I can get you integrated and working with this multi-stream thing so you can test it out and be able to hook it up to LeakProject website to stream, as well as then show you how, if you like it, you can use the software yourself to use it, that you can load it to all of your YouTube channels, as well as your Twitter, your Facebook, Twitch, and your website streaming all in one, that it can go live all in one, or it can also do pre-recorded uploads all in one simultaneously to premiere them and stuff like that. So it's extremely useful social media tool.
Cool. All right, man. You got it. We'll talk soon. And thank you again, everybody, for being here with us. Be the change you want to see.